Hey y'all, Deputy Mason here. I just want to take a minute to say that I really appreciate how receptive you guys were to my first two extremely weird experiences since I've moved to this small town. I thought it was going to be smooth sailing. That's why I had the transfer, but it's been anything but smooth sailing. Tonight I'm going to share another story with y'all. This one keeps me up at night sometimes when I think about it, but you guys let me know what you think in the comment section. They said she walked into the woods at 11:58 p.m. Her name was Lila Weaver, 23, a college student from out of town. She and her boyfriend had come to Hollow Creek to camp near the old timber mill forest, just north of the highway. According to him, they'd argued. She'd stormed off into the trees. When he went after her 2 minutes later, she was gone. No sound, no tracks, just gone. That was 3 nights ago. By the time I arrived, the campsite was abandoned, except for a tent. A burnt-out fire and an old radio lying in the mud. Sheriff Darnell stood beside the cruiser, hands in his pockets, face pale in the morning mist. "You don't want this one, Mason," he said quietly. "Timberline takes its own." I frowned. "You think she's dead?" He looked toward the tree line. "Worse." They called it Timberline, but locals had another name for it, the Vanishing Woods. A few miles deep, there used to be an old ranger station. It burned down sometime in the 70s, supposedly after a lightning strike. Since then, people claim that anyone who wandered past the 3rd-mile marker after midnight never came back. Their cars would be found abandoned, tents untouched, but no footprints, no scent for dogs to follow. Just silence. I'd heard the stories when I first moved to Hollow Creek, but they felt like folklore, another small town ghost tale. Now, standing at the edge of the forest, the air colder than it should have been, I wasn't so sure. Something about the trees felt wrong. They leaned inward as if listening. The light between them seemed to bend in impossible ways, too deep, too dark. At the station, I reviewed the evidence from the site. The radio was old, 1970s model. It still worked. When I turned it on, the speaker hissed with static. And then, faintly, I caught a woman's voice.
"If anyone finds this, I don't think I'm alone out here."
It was Lila's voice. The timestamp on the recording read 12:02 a.m.
"The trees, they move. I swear they..."
The rest cut out in static. I rewound it 3 times, heart pounding. Each time, just before her voice faded, there was another sound beneath it, a whisper, low, rhythmic, almost human.
"Stay. Stay."
I brought the tape to Darnell. He listened without expression, then shut the recorder off and set it down gently. "Mason," he said, "there's something you need to understand about Hollow Creek. The rules don't stop at Halloween. They just change with the seasons." I frowned. In my mind, I realized, you could have told me this sooner. "You're saying the forest has its own rules?" He nodded once. 3 of them. He wrote them down on a napkin, the pen shaking slightly in his hand. Rule number 1. Do not enter Timberline after midnight. Rule number 2. If you hear someone call your name, do not answer. Rule number 3. If you see the path move, close your eyes. I stared at the paper. "How do you even know these?" "Because," he said softly, "I broke one once." I went out there the next night anyway. I told myself it was for Lila, but the truth was, Hollow Creek had its hooks in me. Ever since I came back, I'd felt something pulling me toward the things I shouldn't see. The forest waited in silence. My flashlight beam sliced through the mist. The trees were skeletal against the moonlight, bark slick with dew. Somewhere in the distance, water dripped in steady rhythm like a heartbeat. I found the first mile marker easily. The second one was half buried in moss. By the third, my radio started to hum. Not static, just a low hum, almost like breathing. "Sheriff?" I said into the mic. "You copy?" Silence, then faintly. "Mason." I froze. It wasn't Darnell's voice. It was Lila's. "Help me." The sound came from deeper in the woods. Rule number 2 flashed in my head. If you hear someone call your name, do not answer. But I was already moving. The path twisted unnaturally as I went. Every few steps, it seemed to shift direction. I turned back to check my footprints, but they were gone, swallowed by soft earth. Then, ahead, a faint glow. A clearing. The moonlight didn't reach here. The light came from the ground itself, a pale shimmer beneath the moss. And in the center stood Lila. She looked alive. No blood, no wounds. But her eyes were vacant, her face slack, like a puppet waiting for strings. "Lila?" I whispered. She turned slowly, her head twitching at an odd angle. "You shouldn't be here." Her voice was flat, empty. Then she smiled. "They don't like it when someone breaks the rules." The ground beneath her shifted, literally moved, like the earth itself was breathing. Roots curled around her feet and dragged her downward. I lunged forward, but the moment I stepped into the clearing, the light flared, and the path behind me was gone. The forest wasn't still anymore. The trunks pulsed faintly with light, like veins under skin. The branches above creaked in a rhythm that sounded disturbingly like speech. I stumbled backward, heart racing. The air was thick, syrupy. Every breath burned. When I blinked, the clearing was empty, and Lila was gone. In her place stood another figure, taller, draped in shadow, its body formed from bark and roots that wreathed like tendons. Its face was smooth and pale, featureless except for a hollow mouth that opened wide and breathed out words I could barely hear. "You were supposed to stay gone, Mason." Then the forest roared. I ran. Branches clawed at my arms, roots snared my boots. Every direction looked the same. The path kept looping, bending back on itself. I shouted into the radio, "Darnell, do you copy?" But only static answered. Then a voice, not the sheriff's, not Lila's, mine. "You can't leave." I turned. For a moment, I thought I saw myself standing between the trees. Same uniform, same flashlight, same fear in my face. Then it flickered, like a reflection on water, and vanished. My light caught the mile marker again, only this time it read 1, though I could have sworn I'd passed it hours ago. When I stumbled out of the woods, it was dawn, or what passed for dawn here. The sky was gray. The world was too quiet, and behind me, the forest looked untouched. No tracks, no broken branches, like I'd never been there. Back at the station, I checked the radio logs. My voice never came through. The sheriff listened in silence, jaw tight. "You were gone for 3 days, he said. 3 what? He nodded. "We searched every inch of timberline. You weren't there." But he held up a hand. "You came walking out of the woods at sunrise, just like she did." "Lila?" His eyes darkened. "There's something you should see." He led me to the morgue. On the table lay Lila Weaver, pale and still. "She showed up at her parents' house yesterday morning. They said she didn't remember anything. Just kept saying she got lost. Then she stopped breathing an hour later." I stared at her face. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. And when I looked closer, I saw a faint pattern on her skin. Thin, branching lines beneath the surface like roots. That night, I couldn't sleep. My dreams were full of whispering leaves and breathing soil. When I woke, there was dirt under my fingernails. I hadn't been outside. The radio by my bed clicked on by itself.
3rd mile marker. Stay on the path.
Lala's voice again, then static, then faintly.
They're already growing inside you.
I stumbled into the bathroom, flicked on the light, and stared into the mirror. For a second, just one, I thought I saw a bark creeping along my collarbone. Then it was gone. I went to Darnell's house the next morning. He was waiting for me on the porch, coffee steaming in his hands like he'd been expecting me. "They marked you," he said. I didn't argue. "What does that mean?" He looked out toward the tree line beyond town. "Timberline doesn't kill people. It takes them, keeps your part, gives your part back." He sighed, shoulders heavy. "You came back once, Mason. Maybe you weren't meant to come back again." His voice was almost kind when he added, "Whatever's in those woods, whatever they are, they like balance." I frowned. "Balance?" He met my eyes. "For every soul that escapes, another has to stay." I told myself I wouldn't go back, but Hollow Creek has a way of calling you. The second midnight came, cold and bright, the moon hanging low like a watching eye. I parked by the edge of Timberline and turned off my lights. The forest waited, still and black. I took one step forward. The soil shifted under my boot, soft as breath. And then, voices. Not whispers this time, names, hundreds of them, murmured together. Lala, Darnell, Mason. The air pulsed, the ground moved, and from the shadows stepped the figure again, the one made of roots and bark. Its voice was the sound of wind through hollow trees. "One must stay." Behind it, the forest opened like a mouth. I looked down. My hands were covered in dirt. My badge glowed faintly with that same pale shimmer I'd seen in the clearing. And then, faintly from the trees, "Stay with us, deputy." When I opened my eyes, I was back in town. Morning sunlight glared through the blinds of the station. My badge lay on the desk, clean. My hands were spotless. The forest was quiet again. Darnell walked in sipping coffee. "Morning, Mason. You look like hell." I tried to speak, but my throat burned. My voice came out rough. "How long was I gone this time?" He blinked. "Gone? You've been here all week." I opened my mouth to argue and then stopped. On the bulletin board behind him hung a new missing poster, and it read, "Sheriff Henry Darnell, last seen October 3rd. The photo was weeks old. It's been a month. The town pretends not to notice the forest growing closer each night, the trees creeping toward the highway inch by inch. Sometimes, when I drive past after dark, I see lights deep within the trees, like lanterns swinging gently in the wind. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I swear I hear his voice through the radio. "Keep watching, Mason. They'll need you when the next rule changes." The woods hum softly now, even in daylight. And every morning, there's fresh dirt on my boots. I don't remember walking there, but I think the forest does.